member. Hi everybody, we're back with the Final Third Network, Pamela Martin of Long World Services for the Living. And one of the things that makes these interviews so exciting for me is that when we cut after one episode and we begin preparing for another one, I usually ask the questions like, what would you like to talk about that we didn't hit? What kind of concept spurred something in your mind and now it's on the back plate, but you'd like to discuss it? Mm-hmm. So again, during the break, I asked Pamela, what was it that we didn't talk about that you would like to? And for me, this is like the core of who I am in terms of spiritual, family, those kind of arenas, those places. So Pam, I'm going to ask you the question, why would somebody really want to engage your services? Why not as a family member? I go into my mom and dad's house, I'm able to touch all their artifacts, it brings back memories, I'm shedding tears, I'm grieving. Now, mind you, it wasn't like that when my grandfather had passed away and my dad tried to get rid of everything as quickly as possible just so he could get the house closed. At least that's the way I remember it, and it was 45 years ago. But why? Really, what are the benefits of hiring a professional to get rid of all these goods? So help me with that one.
Sure. Well, if I could start with just a quick personal story. So when I was teaching at Purdue Calumet, my dad passed away. He and I were extremely close. He lived out of state, and I traveled to his property to put his home to rest. Logistically, it was very difficult for me to arrange substitutes at work. I don't have kids, and I can't even imagine if someone has kids. That's a whole other complication. But I was able to go to his home with my siblings and close the home. It took us a tremendous amount of time because we kept getting stuck on the details. So the photos, any kind of emotion, anything that had emotion attached to it, of course, took us longer to deal with. There was a point when my siblings and I were frantically searching on the internet for a service like mine, and we were unable to find one. So instead of cleaning the refrigerator at 3 a.m, we felt like, wouldn't it be great if we could just be at home thinking about Dad, sharing stories, looking at photos. Instead it turned into all of our free time that we were able to secure out of work was spent doing some pretty back-breaking labor.
Sure.
Right, yeah.
I can imagine. Well, part of, again, the conversation we're having on the Final Third Network and staying relevant in the Final Third is the concept of these different arenas that we all live in. We live in a spiritual arena, we have a family arena, physical arena. I can see how your services would help almost protect against that conflict that might happen in the family side. In terms of the physical side, I can't even imagine having to have 10 days to clear a house out and do the painting or spackling and all those kind of things. So you guys also provide those services. You provide everything except closing the house. So you come in, you get rid of everything. Well, you don't get rid of everything, but you allow the family members to pick and choose what wants to stay or sell or get dispersed. But in the meantime, you're also getting the carpets cleaned, you're getting the floors redone, you're spackling the walls, getting it paint ready to sell. I can see how that is an incredibly valuable service. But would you say, like with your own grieving experience, would you say that if you had to, this is a bad question I think, but if you had to do it all over again, would you rather do it with a service like yourself, providing it for your dad, or would you rather have the time with your siblings even though you're fighting? Because that's probably something you did your whole life anyhow.
Oh, 100%. I would have hired, all three of us, we talked about it extensively. We would have hired someone instantly. And then just enjoyed each other's company, outside of his house, right? I have a really fun story. Well, I don't know how fun it is, but one of my clients was out in California and I was, on site here in Chicagoland. It was actually a biohazard scene. There was, hoarding. There was just a lot of problems in the place. And I feel that we were able to completely remove any potentially triggering or negative emotions that the person would encounter if he were there on site. After a week, the client came from California to the funeral, but of course stopped at the condo to see the progress. And we had a special box waiting for him of the items that he specified that he wanted, and also some nice surprises. For instance, a photo book that she had made specifically for her brother, who was the person who hired us. This really lovely photo of hers, this beautiful piece of pottery she had made, this terrarium. So we had just a few select items that the client was able to just enjoy. So instead of encountering, again, like a biohazard situation or cigarette butts, things that people don't want to think about, things people don't want to see. We were able to just hand him these items that were happy to him,
Right.
were positive to him. And then meanwhile, the condo was completely clean and ready for market.
Sure. And I can imagine that in those cases where you have a mother or father or a loved one who perhaps have had a long, drawn-out health issue, that you're probably already at the end of your rope. You're a caregiver, and you are already completely overwhelmed in this sandwich generation of having elderly parents that you're caring for and younger children at home that you're also taking care of.
Yes.
So I would imagine that after you are already, the water level is up to your nose, that to have to deal with this in a way that you can, I don't want to say outsource it, but really you're just finding someone else who's very caring and compassionate. And I can kind of see you almost tear up in this conversation when recollecting the event of your dad, that this is super important to you and that you're bringing your heart and not just your blood, sweat. I mean, you're bringing it all with you to your business. That's a beautiful thing. That's great. Well, let's see what else. Any other topics that you'd like to talk about in terms of how you interact with brothers, sisters, family members, or maybe you could share with us maybe one really good story and maybe one that didn't work out like had planned because kids bring their own baggage. Is there something like that in there?
Sure. Okay. So positive stories, the majority of them are positive stories. And again, I love surprising people. That's what our bunny is about. So we have this, this little cartoon bunny. He's our little logo, and we're trying to say that we appear and then we disappear and we take the problems with you. I'm not sure how clear that is, but that's kind of the point. And I love when clients call and say, "I can't believe how fast you did this. I can't believe this is done. I can't believe how organized this is." That makes me feel great.
Right.
A funny story. I'll tell you, sometimes neighbors can get a little bit nosy. I've had people just walk in to the property where I am, where the client is not. I mean, the client 99% of the time is not on the.
This is not an open house
right?
or a
This
estate
is
sale.
not an open house, right? And clients wandering in like, "Can I get that book? Can I get that bookshelf?" Like, no, please, who are you, right? So, yeah, dealing with those people tactfully, we're definitely able to do, but it's a little. There are all sorts of. Characters out there, so we were always mindful of that.
So we had a family member recently pass away about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and after the wake service, there was a small reception of snacks and wine afterwards at the deceased condominium, and we walked in, and again, he was a teacher, so there was books everywhere, a pool table which weighed like 6,000 pounds. Plateware and just a bicycle and all sorts of athletic equipment. And so my nephews had to take a week off of work from being in the Carolinas here to Glenview in order to sort everything and get rid of it and dispose of it. So I definitely see the value of your services to be able to be there almost virtually, being able to look at all the personal goods and personal items, be able to pick and choose of what you want shipped back to them. So I can see how almost not being there is really that's almost cathartic in itself, that you don't have to deal with that kind of, because you're already still grieving from the passing away of a relative.
Right.
You're not even over that yet. For
sure. Yeah. We always say that we provide multiple types of benefit. We think that we provide mental benefit, meaning that the person, the surviving family members, they don't have to make this to-do list, right? And try to execute all the tasks on this list and designate who's going to do what. We provide physical benefit. I think it's difficult for people to be lugging furniture around, lugging bags of garbage. Like, who really wants to do this? Especially on, if you have to forego a vacation in order to go clean a loved one's home. And I believe that our loved ones wouldn't actually want us to do that. I think they'd want us to go on vacation or spend time with our kids or, excel at work. Also, of course, spiritual benefit. Families can be at home with their loved ones, surrounded by their friends and family, instead of, like I said, cleaning the refrigerator.
Sure.
Let's see. Yeah. So I think
it's interesting to talk about that spiritual benefit, because I think it affects different people different ways. Again, going back to our family member that passed away, we went in for the reception afterwards, and hanging on the wall was a print. And it probably cost $10. It was not a big deal, but it was Michelangelo's Return of the Prodigal Son, which is my favorite spiritual image that has ever been painted. So for me, being able to acquire that copy before I left was awesome. Otherwise, it would have ended up in a dumpster. And so you just never know what simple artifact or item could provide a great spiritual uplifting and connection with somebody that you might not have thought about. So I can see how, again, being able to look at those things in a Dropbox and say, yeah, I want that one, and I don't care about that.
I'm so glad you were able to secure that picture.
Oh my gosh,
yourself.
yeah.
That's great. Did you hang it up?
It's already hung up. Yep, I look at it every day. So for me, that really means something.
That's
So,
really great.
all right, Pamela, once again, tell viewers how they can get in touch with you, and we'll wrap up the second episode.
Sure. We are available to take calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can be reached at 312-286-0586. Again, we do jobs here in Chicagoland, but we can go anywhere in the United States. And our website is www.longworldservices.com. Thank you.
Pamela, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
And
you,
again,
Bill.
that's a wrap for the Final Third Network. And thank you so much for joining me. It's been great, and I really enjoyed getting to know you.
Thank you so much, Phil. Me
All right.
too.